Welcome everybody to the San Francisco Bay Area. It's a pleasure to have you all here. And I'm very pleased to have here Santos, who has been an inspiration for many of us around the world. And being his first time here in San Francisco, I couldn't really miss the opportunity to have him with us. I've been following like many of you, and I know today is going to be a spectacular day already because he brings alive a lot of information and knowledge. I'm so pleased and I'm happy that you're all here, and for all of you who are going to be watching him later on, bless all of you, and thank you for being here. And let me introduce, my name is Noemi, and I'm very pleased that we have Santos, and it's all yours. Enjoy the evening. Ladies and gentlemen, it's my pleasure to introduce to you Santos Bonacci, the only one and only.
Great. So, we've already warmed up to this by introducing each other, so it's just great. I just want to say welcome, and it's really great to have you. Nice small group, which is great. We didn't really have a big advertising run-up, so we realised that next time we're going to do it again. Naomi does these events, and with probably a couple of months of run-up. Yeah. So, great, thank you for coming, because you bring the inspiration, and together the energy frequencies, as they say, where two or more are gathered in my name, there is my Holy Spirit. And the Holy Spirit is wisdom, energy, inspiration, clarity, consciousness. And that's what today's all about. Today is going to be a big day. Very intense in terms of content. It will be simple enough for a beginner to grasp. The more you've been involved with syncretism, the better it will be today, of course. So I want to ask a question before we start. How many people here know how I do my astrotheology presentations with the sine wave? Good, good, good. Sine wave is very important. You're going to learn about the sine wave today. Big. A lot of information to download on the sine wave, the energy wave. What about the torus field? I've done a lot on the torus field, the hyperbola and the torus field. Good. Yeah. So the torus field is very important, but it's no use speaking about the torus field if you don't speak of its counterpart, the hyperbola. So we're going to get to know that really well today. You'll find that it will change and transform your outlook forever. Just knowing about the hyperbola. It's going to be a real big one. As we warm up, I want to put a few words on the board that I want you to get familiar with so that you can navigate through the presentation a lot better, because beginners will have a difficulty with that. And I want to start with a dot on the wall. Okay, anyway, it'll be a dot. It'll be a dot. There you go. That's it. And we're going to end up with the fundamentals for understanding astrology. Yeah. We'll have a break, question and answers at the end too. So hold your question and answers. I don't mind interaction. That's cool. If it's just like helping me. You know, I always do find that all my presentations have got word slips. And I don't know I'm doing it. So if you know my work well and I do that, jump in. But if you've got questions, we'll look at those. So to bring more clarity to the subject. But yeah, it will finish with astrology and how to understand the chart. It looks like a lot of busy information, very technical and difficult, but it's not. It's so easy. You're going to see there's a 24-hour clock, the astrological chart, because it is. And the whole thing turns clockwise, like a clock, a 24-hour clock, like the military clocks. And when you open your eyes and you see that, voila, you'll understand how the wave works and all fractals of every wave, the year, the day, the minute, the month, they are all fractally self-similar. So you'll find that in your life, all these experiences turn up in January, yeah? Like your computer breaks down a certain time every year. I had that for about 5 years running. April, Aries, my sign. You know, and I looked at the conjunctions and I saw why. You know? But why are these patterns always recurring? You know? It's because everything is in waves, and all the waves start at 0 degrees Aries and end at 29 degrees Pisces. So just think of that and know that astrology is the ultimate goal in syncretism, because it's the mother of all sciences. Astrology, when understood, the word etymologically is simply the word of God. That's what astrology means. In Sanskrit, astrology is called Jyotish. The science of light. Stars, astros, light. Logos, the word, the knowledge of, the speaking of, the science of. Light. And God is light. So we're going to be talking about that and light, the nature of light, and sonoluminescence, which is sound and light. We're going to learn about magnetism, what magnetism really is, what electricity is, how it differs from magnetism, and what dielectricity is. Because these three are the trinity of all trinities. All trinities go back to dielectricity, magnetism, electricity. All the gods, Kronos, Rhea and Zeus, they are that. Neutron, proton, electron, they are that. They are all in their fields, when syncretized and integrated, the same thing. And you'll understand that. So we're going to learn about the atom, what the atom really is. It's a torus field. That's what atoms are. And you'll see how that, you will be able to understand that and explain that forevermore, so simply from today, if you haven't already, because it's in my presentations. So those who are familiar with the torus field, great. Those are the two things that we're going to be doing. The sine wave, which unfurls around the torus field, and they're one and the same. So a sine wave normally is considered to be positive and negative, two things. Okay? What you will learn today is no, there's much more to a sine wave. Okay? There's the wave amplitude point. So here's your wavelength, here's your wave amplitude. So you've got 4 points already. But astrology teaches, and all the ancient sciences, that there are actually 12 separate conditions, frequencies of energy along every ecliptic. It's not just positive and negative. If you get trapped in that simplicity, it's there. There is duality. There's all the numbers. The universe is number, Pythagoras. And letters. According to Kabbalah, the universe was made by letters. you will understand today how numbers and letters have created everything you see. Everything. Numbers represent quantities, letters represent qualities. And this is how the universe is built, through numbers. And we'll explore all those numbers. And the fundamental numbers of the universe. And you'll be really, really acquainted with their role in creation. Very powerful. It's just numbers and letters. So, along the torus field, there is it's like the Ouroboros. The energy is going along like this, and the sine wave is around here. So Aries would be starting here, and it would have 30 degrees of energy there. Its frequency is there and only there. And when we come to an understanding that all cycles, whether we have a 4-stroke engine or a 2-stroke engine or any kind of mechanical instrument, all of its cycles will have 12 separate conditions along that ecliptic. It's not just positive and negative, and that's what we're going to understand. Now, there's a great scholar, Stan Tenen. I really have to plug his work. It's just so important when it comes to syncretism. He's a Hebrew scholar, Jewish scholar, and he's done wonders with the alphabet. And he has an apple, which is like the torus field. He makes an apple because they are apples. They are apples of gold, golden eggs, cows, holy cows, because torus means bull, cow. This field, this is an atom, okay? You will find that this is an atom. And this is the form of everything that exists. These are points of light, a little dot there in the centre of that's just a point of light. It's all light and sound coming from counter space and making form, vibration. So Stan Tenen, with this apple, he breaks the apple up and he shows how along every segment of the apple in torus field there are 12 separate different conditions. And he shows and roots it in the Kabbalah. It's so very important. The video channel that will really enlighten you on that will be Dance of the Hebrew Letters. You want to watch that. And then as he opens the apple, he points to the disc he has here. And he says that is, in our theology, the flat earth. This is the tree of life in the Garden of Eden. And this is the dome. He calls this apple the dome above our head, the firmament, in which the stars are embedded, according to the Greeks. And the sun runs along the ecliptic, in that firmament, on the ecliptic. And we're going to learn about the ecliptic. That's the key. The ecliptic is the key. Why? Because if you want to know how the wave works better than anyone else, you need to know the ecliptic, because it's the best sine wave with the most information on it. And what is the ecliptic? It's part of the sun. You don't see the line in the sky yet, where the sun goes as it goes up the Tropic of Cancer, here in California, very high in the sky. We've just had our summer, and then it goes down to the Tropic of Capricorn, a little arc in winter. The sun's just little on Christmas, you know, has to climb up the goat of Capricorn, has to climb up the hill to the mountain of Cancer. You know, and then summer comes again. So as you see the sun doing this, you know, what is it, 47 degrees between the tropics going through the equator, you won't see any line in the firmament, in the sky. But where the sun goes, and only where the sun goes, that is the ecliptic. And that's what this sine wave is based on. This sine wave is based on the ecliptic. For let's start afresh. Can we have like, paper towel? Those things don't work. I need it a bit moist, I think, if someone can...
You want the water?
Yeah, just a little bit on there, a little bit of moisture. So, I'll wait for that. So, the best sine wave to examine, okay, to learn from, is the ecliptic, because it's a year long. Oh, thanks, brother. Yeah, it's a year long. So what I'll do, I slept 2 hours last night. I've got plenty of energy. So. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put one of my graphs here, the sine wave, and on the other side I'm going to do the torus field. And that's where we're going to start the whole journey. So if you take a map of the Earth, any model will do, whether it's the spherical, the azimuthal equidistant, or the transverse Mercator projection. Transverse Mercator projection. There's another word that goes in there, but that will get you the transverse one, which is this one, which is the most common. It's in the school, yeah? And it's a rectangle. Yeah? Transverse means everything is rectangular, and the transverse lines, they're not divergent, like in the spherical model, you know, and in the flat Earth model, for instance. So I've always used that one, and it's the best one for presenting. So you find the equator, don't you? Everywhere, in every map, whichever one you use, there's an equator. And in the North Pole, there is always the Tropic of Cancer. It's always there, 23.5 degrees north of the equator, which divides the two hemispheres, north and south. Capricorn is always in the south. So what's with Cancer and Capricorn? Those are two astrological signs, aren't they? Yes, but they are two astronomical constellations as well, aren't they? Yeah? And so when you look at your your coordinates in Skywatch, you know, you have to punch in 3 hours right ascension of meridian and 60 degrees declination north to map out the constellations in the skies, right? So why is Cancer there? Well, simple. In June, when the sun is in June is in physically, the sign of Cancer is behind the sun, which you cannot see because during the day the sun is too bright. But if you could see behind the sun the sign, you would see Cancer in June. Of course, if you know about precessional slippage, you'll know that they're lagging a little bit behind. So your astronomical software and your astrological software will always be different. Okay, so just bear that in mind. But it's there. So that's why it's the Tropic of Cancer, because the sun is now in Cancer. And the astrologers know that there are 12 main sets of stars that when the sun is in them, they bring the various months and various energy. And we're going to learn about that, how we've got 12 seasons, not 4 seasons. We've got 12 seasons. Yeah. So, when you find a good map and you find this, then you'll find this sine, a sine wave going through from the equator. Usually it always starts here, and whether you're on a ball model, you'll see it go around like this, and by the time it goes back, it's done one wave, positive and negative. It's gone up to the Tropic of Cancer and down to the Tropic of Capricorn, regardless of the map. That is a year of a sine wave. Remember, they're all fractal, all sine waves. As the year's sine wave, when it begins on the 21st of March, every year, that is the point of departure, of equilibrium. That is the true start of the year. It's always been known in all cultures. March the 21st, the equinox, start of the year, the sacred year, because this is sacred. You see, when the sun hits this point, all of a sudden the stars of Aries turn up. Spring. Then Taurus, and everyone watches this. The farmers watch it because they know that's the time to get the bull out and start planting. There's your blossom in spring. So the blossom is the symbol of the start of the year. You can't start it down here in Capricorn in the winter. Winter's dead. It's dead. Life. That's the start of the year. You see, but Rome has got us starting at this solstice here, which is fine. But it's not the sacred year, it's the secular year. Doing commerce. That's what it's all about. Capricorn energy is practical, earth energy. Making money, succeeding. Fire, spiritual energy. The land of God is Aries. It's the priest sign. So, and this is the sacred calendar. And this is the one we're going to learn about, and you have learned about in my astrotheological presentations. And why is this one the one we're going to do? Why don't we pick on any other sine wave? Well, here you've got every single 360 days of the year, and all the festivals that happen along the ecliptic. When you go from culture to culture, you'll find that all the festivities, they're all the same. They're all the same. Every day, down to a day. The Greeks, if you're born on the 21st of March, you get a name. It might be Charalambos, which is a popular Greek name. When I come from Australia, there's a lot of Harrys, Charalambos. Here you'll get Yorgos, George, because of St. George. And their children are named according to the day, the saint of the day, the patron saint. And who are saints? Well, they're astrological angels, angles, archetypes. It's all astrology. Even in theology. It's all astrology. And it's all based on these 365 days that are all unique. Every single day has its own frequency. Not just the months, which we will learn about, every single day. Hour, minute, fractally, self-similar, up and down. And that's why we study this one. Because we get to know the seasons of the year, and then we can turn this wave into the day and the night. Easily transformable. And we'll do that before we go to the Taurus field. This is how you do this. You make this the day and the night, day cycle and the year cycle. And why would you do that? Because they're the best cycles you know. You know how many years you've lived. You know how it feels to go through all the 4 seasons. You already have registered these energies. You're already programmed to understand what's coming. And you know the day. Okay? You know how the day works. 6 o'clock, bang, east, Aries, the sun, that energy, you know. The ancients used to hail the sun every day without fail and put their palms up to the sun, because the palms are where the magnetic energy gets flowing. It goes in this hand, goes out the other hand, and vice versa in the female. But as you when you look at the sun and stare at the sun, Helios, the healer. And what happens is it restores your holiness because it generates magnetic field. And we are magnetic. They say we are electrical. Oh yes, our bodies are electrical, but our spirit is magnetic. Magnetism is spiritual. As John Nowelski, a great magnetrician and famous man, for his work, on magnetism. He says magnetism ain't physical. It's a spiritual force, and it's 10 billion times more powerful than electricity. So what are we doing on an electrical grid? We're going to learn about free energy, magnetism, pulse energy, longitudinal wave, etc., and how it compares to the transverse wave, how superior it is. So, and the other thing John Mawelski says is that once we arrive at a knowledge of magnetism, in agreement with Sri Yukteswar in the Holy Science, great Hindu scholar who said, called magnetism, divine magnetism. He said, when humanity comes back to the knowledge of magnetism, not electricity, then everything will be where it's supposed to be in the universe. Everything will be restored, all of our consciousness. So we're going to be learning about the importance of magnetism and what it is. Here, these of course are the solstices. The longest day of the year is on June the 21st. Here you've got, today is the 21st of September, is it not? When is Judgment Day, the autumnal equinox, every year? 23rd. I usually put the 21st here, but sometimes you'll see in my presentation I just do because this is Judgment Day in the Jewish system. Bang. See? Virgo is over, man. The harvest is finished. Everything's getting... Cannabis growers here, he knows it's the buds all drying up. I'll have to get a bag. I'm sure it's good. So we all know, apples, Santos' beautiful sweet apple. That's right. That's Virgo, man. It's the harvest. So Libra, the seventh sign, is all about setting the scales of the harvest season, you know, calculating, weighing the figs, everything. And after the Virgo, by the way, the full moon in Virgo is always called the hunting moon, yeah? Yeah, because there's no food in winter, and you gotta go hunting. But when the full moon is in Pisces, it's called the harvest moon, right? Because it's the sun will be in Virgo. So we just had, did we have the harvest moon already?
14th, yeah.
This month?
Yeah.
There you go. Always. The harvest moon. Harvest moon? Sorry, because the full moon will be in Pisces. Remember, if I do this, that's Virgo. We're talking about these 2 months here, so vice versa. So in Pisces, when it's the full moon, the moon will be in Virgo, because it's opposite where the sun is, of course. And that's called the hunter moon. You see how everything's based on this? There's no mistake now. Here is the harvest season, here is the hunting season. And it's not necessarily hunting for animals, it's hunting for food, because you can't plant it. But it's embedded in the sine wave. You see how now you are starting to understand the sine wave? All sine waves will do this. September. And Sept means what? 7, doesn't it? But we call it 9, you know, 9/11. It's the 9th month, right? What's going on there? Well, it's the 7th because it's astrological. You see? So you always go back to astrology. Why is September called the 7th month? Well, because Libra is the 7th month, and it's always been to astrology. Nothing is removed from astrology, you'll find. It's in everything. And here we have the other solstice, 21st of December. Sorry, it's not very clear, but... So these are the equinoxes, 2 equinoxes, and these are the 2 solstices. It's very important to understand this in your knowledge of how waves work, because here we have the unbalance, and the capricious goat down in Capricorn and the crabby crab of Cancer show you what happens when the wave goes out to wave amplitude. It's beautiful, creates a beautiful form, but it's capricious. It's cruddy. Energy is like that. Red shift, blue shift. Red is rage, blue is love. That's why your police sirens are red and blue. Where you jack? Oh, we didn't go. Yeah. Dichotomy that they run to basically just nullify you. So now, so that's the year, right? And I can fill in more information, but you can see where I'm going with that, all right? Especially if you see my presentations. But how do you make that the day now? So we can get to that 24-hour clock, because that's where you need to go. You need to know the day of this cycle and the year. And more, but those two are the fundamentals. So, it's easy. 6 a.m. 12 midday, just like your military clock. 6 p.m. 12 p.m. Oh, gee. Alright, I'll have to start running a while better than this. It's the board's moving too. It's that ding, 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 ding. So, but I do write messy. And yeah. So you can see now that how the sine wave is working. This point here would represent daybreak. See? Where the sun comes over the eastern horizon and goes up to the top point there, midday there, and you see here then at 6 p.m. the sun is setting, and you come back around and there's 12 a.m. So what you notice now is that the year is self-similar to the day, isn't it? They're the same thing. Think about it. Let's go dualistic. In the day, you have hot and cold polarities, right? In the year, well, you've virtually got two seasons, summer and winter, if you want to go simple. You see? And that's where mankind, it has virtually remained in that understanding of this polarity. And it's really doing the heavy. Because you've got to understand there's more going on. So, another feature of the day, besides hot and cold, is light and darkness. Does that go on in the year? Well, you do, yeah. We've got a lot of light in summer now. Virgo, it's beautiful. Very bright out there in San Francisco. But in 6 months' time, it's going to be a lot darker than that. So you see how the night and the year are the same? Now when you understand those two cycles, which are your favourite cycles already, now you're going to understand the energy of astrology. Because if you take the starting point of the day for Aries, the beginning of the astrological signs, you will understand the energy of that sign. Aries is the morning rising. That's how they are. That's why you find Arians are very exuberant, you know, like little children. It's like the sun's just morning, you know, we're going to have a picnic. And you're excited in the morning. That's Aries. It's excited, it's youthful. It's like the little lamb in the field. So you see from 6 a.m. to 8 a.m. you've got that energy. It's fire. Fire? How do you understand fire if you're not scientific and spiritual? Well, it's plasma. The four elements, fire, air, water and earth, are nothing other than plasma, gas, liquid and solid. The four states of the universe. So now you can understand that plasma energy Plasma is, well, it's in everything. You know, that's the source of the physical world. Plasma. It's fire. And so that energy, now you can transfer that mentally to the sign of Aries. Now you come to 10 to 8, it's totally a different, 8 to 10. It's totally a different energy. 8 to 10 in the morning. It's much more subdued. It's where you normally have breakfast. That's where you normally have a bit of a rest after all the excitement of waking up for 2 hours. Then Gemini comes along. Gemini is an air sign. This is very good for the mind, communicating, transacting, getting things done. It's very energized. You see your Geminian friends, they're very excitable. Gemini is a very excitable sign. It's exciting. Gets you to lunchtime. Then from the hours of midday to 2, Cancer. Cancer rules the stomach. It's lunchtime. And generally, in Europe, they shut the shop and rest. Motherly rest of Cancer. You know? And then off to work at 2, Leo. Fire. You see? So that is how the day unfurls. But so does the year. It's the same thing. Spring. So we start at the start of the year now. And we remember the energies of the day, yeah? Well, spring. There's the blossom. The start of the year. The sun has impregnated the earth. And that's the symbol. You know, that's the sign that everything, the shoots start. I've been to Japan twice, in 2005 and 2006, on this day. And they call it Shibun no Hi. And they have celebration under the sakura. It's sakura season. And they're under the sakura trees. And they'll have cookies and wine, and they sit under the cherry trees, cherry blossom trees, sakura. And they have a public holiday on Shibun no Hi. Well, we have Easter. We also have Easter, pinned to the 21st. But everywhere in the world that they celebrate the resurrection. Here's the resurrection of something. What? It's the blossom. That's why Easter is always here at the start of the year. The sun is resurrected from the winter. You see? Spring, summer, autumn, winter. And this point here is so sacred, man. All around. I've travelled to in Ecuador. I went to Quito, to the Temple of the Sun, to the high priest there, Cristobal, who rebuilt it. And basically everything in that temple, he showed me all the masonry. We actually filmed it, so that'll be out one day. But he showed us all the points in the masonry that had markers for these 4 days. Just for those 4 days. Everywhere, all the temples in the world, they're all marked for these 4 days. It's very, very important. And then, of course, your cross-quarter days. But we're going to keep it simple. We are just seeing now how, you know, Aries brings the blossom, Taurus brings the growth and the earth sign, so the fruit starts growing. Gemini brings multiplicity and the warmth, where spring is now turning into summer. Cancer brings the moisture, tropical moisture. Then Leo, the dog days, because the sun is conjunct Sirius. Sirius is the dog. And they say, the astrologers, that when the sun is in front of Sirius, there is more heat. There's a transference of magnetic pulse and energy between the two, and you have 3 weeks of the dog days. I arrived here, I think, on August the 11th in California. I'm pretty sure the dog days were late. It was hot. But usually, you know, July, yeah, where Sirius is, in Gemini, right there, Canis Major. So, but the sun is conjunct that, and it happens here in Leo. The roar of the lion, the heat to mature the fruit, and then Virgo, the virgins go out to gather the harvest. Then Libra, the wine. Am I going too fast?
Nope.
Good. The bread and the wine, symbols of the Passover. Remember Jesus with his 12 disciples? Yeah. Aries, the first three, spring, Aries, Taurus, Gemini. You see Gemini's got his hands up. It's telling you. Aries is here, Taurus is bottom of the head, and Gemini, the third sign, is twins. So Leonardo da Vinci knows what he's doing. You know? It's in the, you see, look at the disciples and you see, that's Aries, you can tell. You see Aries at the head of the table, he's the only one at the head. He's got his hands on the head. That's Aries, you know, I'm the starter, you know. And then you Leo, he's got his elbow on the table, which normally is rude. You know, just sit there on the table when you're eating with your elbow. But of course the arrogance of the lion, you know, he's the boss. And you see that in Leonardo da Vinci's painting. And why is Jesus in the middle giving bread and wine? Because here, the equinox, this very important equinox that's coming in 2 days' time, is where the sun divides the year of 6 seasons and 12 seasons. And they all give you signs. All the disciples, they all give you signs that they're astrological, without fail. Here's a real easy one. To the left of Jesus, there's this beautiful female-looking disciple, apostle, with her arms widespread like this. It's like the scales of Libra, you know? Venus, the ruler of Libra. And it's right there in the Last Supper. Because this is the Last Supper. Well, blossom, fruit, ripening, water, harvest. That's the Last Supper. And the Jews, I've been speaking to a lot of, it's amazing how all of a sudden everyone's talking Jewish, you know, and Hebrew, because we're around this season. All my friends. Last night someone was at Shabbat, you know, and next week they're talking about they're going, doing Tishri, Yom Kippur, Rosh Hashanah, that then Judgment Day. See, because the Jews know, like the Christians know. Christmas, Easter, Yom Kippur. Why are they all bang, 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 bang? I've done presentations on this, on the holidays, the holy days, and showing how they all reflect the zodiacal sign in which they are. You see? They all do. Every single one of them. That's why you have, you know, here in Aries, Easter is called the Passover. Yeah, well, because the sun passes over into Aries, you see. So that's got to be the Passover season, right there. But here, why is it called, that's the Passover, and here this is called Judgment Day. Well, normally what they do is they cull the herd here, don't they? Because only the fit will survive the winter. So those cows and sheep, they've been judged. Not worthy to, they're going to go into the freezer. You know, the flesh-eating people. That's how it's been accustomed for a while, unfortunately, for the animals. But it's judgment for them, isn't it? Right? What about judgment for the harvest season? You know, if you didn't get a good year, that day comes real hard. That's going to be a big, big judgment day. That's why the Jews, they know that's called Judgment Day, because they are astrological, as Christianity is, and Islam. It's all the same thing. So, I'll leave that there so I can build on that, and then we're going to pretty much explore the Taurus field. But that is the Taurus field, remember that. Okay? Ready?